What is existentialism, phenomenology, and education? Existentialism is about human existence, such as the meaning of life, why do we die, and how did we get here? Phenomenology, which is closely allied with existentialism, deals primarily with the phenomena of consciousness and usually is attributed to Edmund Husserl in the early 20th century and greatly extended by such figures as Martin Heidegger and Maurice Merleau-Ponty. Although differences are found existentialism and phenomenology, the two have much in common. As these philosophies have been used in philosophy of education, they have been so closely allied that some advocates refer to their work as existentialist phenomenology of education. Although traditional philosophers consider questions about the nature of knowledge, truth, and meaning, existentialists are concerned with how these questions are educationally significant within the lived experience of individuals. Phenomenologists see their inquiry more specifically focused on the phenomena of consciousness, the significance of education in perception, and the development of meaning in concrete individual experience. Existentialism is a protest type of philosophy that emphasizes individual existence, freedom, and choice. Existentialists such as Sartre believe that existence precedes essence. First comes the individual, and then the ideas of the individual creates. Because existentialism is a protest type of philosophy, it emphasizes individual freedom and choice. Many of its adherents have been ever concerned with methodology and systematic exposition. Existentialists assert that a good education would encourage individuals to ask questions such as who am I? Why do I exist? What is my purpose? Most educational philosophies up to this point have emphasizes the concept of a person as a rational being in a rational world. Existentialists believe that good education emphasizes individuality. It attempts to assist each of us in seeing ourselves with our fears, frustration, and hope, as well as the ways we use reason for good. The first step in education, then, is to understand ourselves. Some philosophers, however, have seen phenomenology as providing a rigorous methodology for describing lived experience, as providing an interpretive approach to individual experience. From the phenomenological standpoint, liberating education initially results in the perception that the world of oppression is a limiting situation that can be transformed. Existential aims of education are inspired by curriculum content. We get this content in its purest, most visceral form from literature and the arts. Such ideas that the world is unstable, absorbed, without intrinsic meaning, and that life is an anxious stretching out between our birth and inevitable death may be disturbing notions, but they should be incorporated into the curriculum. Existential education wants to inquiry into life's difficulties, insidious, and ambiguities. Existential philosophy offers the possibility to overcome the polarity that exists between the subjective, internal, either rational for programmatic curriculum making. For example, it calls us to recognize and seek to overcome the injustice of a curriculum that embraces and privileges certain modes of knowing about others, such as an epistemological model favoring analytic, logical, empirical clusters of knowledge over more intangible forms of knowledge, those associated with the arts, which include the intuitive perceptual model of knowledge. The existential aims of education would be inspired by questions of a unique and specifically existential nature. Instead of asking traditional questions such as what is the ideal democratic student or what is an authentic education, educators should be inspired to ask more original questions, such as how is it that authentic education unfolds in its essence? Or how is it that an authentic teacher enacts her potential for being in the classroom with her students? So, what is the role of a teacher? So, the method of pedagogy must allow for the student's development of her own unique possibilities, which is why the existentialists would reject a standardized curriculum and an authoritarian model for teaching. An existential curriculum would include a diverse content as well as an array of varied pedagogical methods, which would importantly include ample opportunities for peer initiated and peer directed learning. Educators should plan lessons that embrace and incorporate aspects of the student's emotional and intellectual autobiography. However, it is not only the aspects of one's unique life story that matters. It is also important that students understand the major role that history and heritage play in shaping who we become. History's authentic role not only forges our past, but as well contributes to the future enactment of our possibilities that we gather from our heritage. The instructional methods employed should be not be resemble the outdated authoritarian model, where the teacher is the superior possessor of knowledge and the student the inferior, empty vessel waiting to be filled. This is model for pedagogy views knowledge at an objective removed from the student and demonstrates no concern for the place of the existential, lived world in the curriculum as shaped by both teacher and student. Knowledge, according to the existentialist, does not reside at a remove from our lived world and in addition is constructive. Those pedagogical techniques should stress the co-creative, co-responsive, and co-participatory aspects of education. A common critic of existentialism in education from the perspective of quantitative analytic empirical research is that it is not applicable because it defies the typical and predict the outcome of